So much, everyone, for sharing also information about your nonprofits. Ariel, I'm glad you enjoy your experience with Zephy, and I'm sure it's going to be a little refreshing to also see this demo. So obviously, if you have any questions, let me know. We're a small group today, so you can definitely ask all your questions. I'm going to share my screen. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to introduce Zephy, who we are, how we're free. Obviously, it sounds too good to be true, Aline, and I totally get it. We get that a lot. So I'm going to explain all of that, obviously. We're going to see some examples of other nonprofits that use Zephy, and then we'll go in the platform to see how that works. You can see how easy it is to use, how to create forms, share your forms online, and all of that. So obviously, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'm sure we'll be able to also catch up later on if you think of using Zephy and if you have questions. So I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. All right, so I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. Perfect. So as all of you know, and as Osamu mentioned, Zephy is the only platform for nonprofits that is completely free. So I think, Lily, you mentioned all the different types of fees you can be charged with other platforms. There's many types of fees. Obviously, there can be a platform fee, a transaction fee, credit card fee, support fees, many, many different types of fees that can all add up very quickly together and represent a big amount of money that is lost from nonprofits like you. And basically, actually, on average, every year, oh, sorry, it's the next slide here. There's $3 billion that is lost in North America every year because of those fees. So that's 3 billions that never go into the nonprofits missions and that are basically, lost because of all those fees. So that's what we want to change here at Zephy. In terms of the options you have in Zephy, we have a bunch of tools, pretty much anything that has to do with online fundraising. So I think, Roland, you mentioned you have this annual event. You could definitely sell tickets through Zephy for your event, but you can also collect donations, create campaigns, e-commerce pages, raffle, ticket sales, manage all your donors and all your members in Zephy as well. And all of that is completely free, obviously. Just going to go here. So this is the list of examples I'm going to go through today, and you'll receive the slides, Osamu, if that's okay, maybe in the follow-up email. So if you want to watch these examples again, we can definitely go through that.
Okay.
And we'll also chat a bit about how to engage and retain donors. So I'll send you in, we'll send you in the follow-up email templates that you can use if you want to write thank you letters or emails, and also templates if you want to outreach to your donors with, by email or social media templates. So before we go into the examples of that I prepared today, I just wanted to tell you a bit more about our model and how Zephy can be free, because obviously that's a big question. So most platforms, as I mentioned before, have all these different types of fees that are their business models, basically. Here at Zephy, we cover all of that. So when you get a $100 donation, that's $100 that goes to your bank account every single time. And the way Zephy is funded is through voluntary contributions from donors. So when someone makes a transaction through Zephy, they basically have this option when checking out to also leave a little something for the platform if they want to. It's completely optional, and regardless if they support Zephy or not, you guys always get the full amount of the donation for your nonprofit. So that's how we're able to, cover all the Stripe fees. So I'm not sure exactly who, I think it was Lily who mentioned the Stripe fees. So Stripe is basically a payment processing platform that is in the back end of many other softwares. It's one of the leaders in terms of online payment processing. So that's the technology we use in the back end of Zephy to collect transactions. And we cover all these Stripe fees. So you never charge anything when collecting through Zephy. So I'm going to show you a first example of a form created with Zephy so you can see with your own eyes how that looks from a donor's perspective. And obviously, let me know if you have any questions, right? So what you see here is the typical type of donation form you can create on Zephy super easily. We're going to create one together actually later. And this one here is a Zephy hosted page. So you have this little URL link right here that you can put anywhere online. For example, if you have like a donate button on your website, you could put that URL in here so people will land on that page. You could share that on social media or even send it by email to your donors. So let's say I'm a donor and I land on that page. This is what I see. On the right side here, you have the space to put a video or a picture if you want to tell a bit more, about your nonprofit and give more design to the page. And here on the left side are all the transactional fields, basically. So people could donate one time, monthly. We also have a yearly donation option. It's just not activated on that form, but it's possible if you want to. And for each of these donation options, you can suggest 4 different amounts that your donors can choose. Obviously, they always have the option to enter an amount of their choice as well. So let's say I want to donate $30, for example. I could just type that right here. In this specific case, I think they don't issue any tax receipts, but if you guys want to issue tax receipts, it's going to be done automatically. So it's going to be sent by email automatically to your donor right after the transaction is made, and the tax receipt will be issued as well. Right below, we have a little mention about Zephy and our model, because we'll be suggesting for this contribution at the end of the form. So we want to make sure people understand why we're suggesting for that. Then here, the donors have a few fields to fill out. So by default, you're always going to be asking for the email, first name, last name, address, city, all the address and country and province. The address would not be mandatory if you don't want to issue a tax receipt, but that would be, the basic fields that you have on your form. And obviously, you can add other questions such as, where should I direct my gift, to the general fund in memory of someone, to a specific program that you have. So you can really add custom questions on your form if you want to collect more data about your donors. Then if I scroll down a little bit, this is where people have the option to support Zephy if they want to. So there's going to be a suggested contribution here that they can change to anything they want. So they can change it to another suggested contribution, or they can click other and put any amount of their choice. So maybe I want to support Zephy with $1. I would put that right here. I can obviously put $0 in there if I don't want to support the platform. It definitely happens, and we're totally fine with it. You guys always keep the full amount of the donation in any case. On average, we have about 2/3 of people who support Zephy, and among those people, their average contribution to the platform represents an additional 5% compared to what they were initially donating to the nonprofit. So that's how we're able to, cover all the costs and also reinvest in the development of Zephy. When it comes to payment methods, they have a few choices. They could pay with PAD, so it's a pre-authorized debit. It's basically a direct bank transfer. They can pay with their credit and debit cards, Apple Pay, and Google Pay as well. And when they hit donate, that's it, the transaction is made. You guys will be notified. You'll keep track of all your donors' data in the back end of Zephy, so we'll get to see that in a few minutes. And the donor will receive their thank you email with their tax receipt if you issue any tax receipts. So that's it for this first form. Does anyone have any questions, concerns? Feel free to obviously let me know if there's anything that's not clear. Yep, I think Aline, you have your hand raised.
Yes, hi. Quick question. Do people get confused? So I wonder, you said the contribution is automatically $1?
So the contribution is gonna, the suggested amount is gonna depend on the amount of the donation. So the higher the donation is, the lower the suggested contribution percentage will be, basically.
Okay.
So they can change it to whatever they want. But basically, the stat is that 2/3 of people actually leave a little something for Zephy. The rest put 0, and that's part of the game also.
Okay. And do people ever get confused? Like, have you ever had anybody complaining?
Well, that can happen in very small cases that maybe people did not give the amount they wanted, but it's really maybe a mistake, like a misclick. If it happens, obviously we would definitely refund everyone who asked for a refund, but it's less than 0.01% of cases.
Okay. Thank you.
For sure. Thanks for the question. Yeah, I think Rolene, you have your hand raised too.
Yes, I was just wondering how you'd pay the charities then. Maybe you covered that.
Sure.
I'm sorry, my phone rang.
No, you're fine. So yeah, definitely good question. So I'll get to that in more details actually when we go in the back end. But
Okay,
basically, the money is going to be transferred automatically to your bank account, your charity's bank account, either every month or every week. You can choose the schedule you prefer, and there's no fees associated with that either.
okay.
All right. Thanks so much for the questions, everyone. So again, let me know if there's anything else. And I'm going to move on with a second example. So the one we saw here again is a Zephy hosted page. So you have this link that you can put anywhere so that people can land on that page. Now, if you want to have your form embedded on your website, it's also possible. So this one here is the Parkdale Community Food Bank in Toronto. They've been using Zephy for a while now. Oh, and by the way, by saving, well, they switched from another very famous um, donation platform. And by saving on those fees, they saved the equivalent of $100,000 that they could reinvest into their mission, so into feeding people, basically. So what you see here is their website, and this part here is the Zephy form they created to collect donations. It's exactly the same features as what we saw just before. The only difference is that it's integrated on their website, so it's really a part of their website. Each form that you create on Zephy, whether it is a donation form, a ticketing form, or any other type of form, comes with this little iframe. It's a little piece of code that you can use in the back end of your website to integrate the form on your page. There's no, well, I don't think there's a better option, to be fully honest. I think what really matters is how accessible and easy to find your form is. This one is a great example because, they have this huge donate button that is super visible. It's impossible to miss. So when you click here, you'll land on that page, and the donation form is here right away. You don't need to scroll down. You don't need to click another button to find it. So it's super easy to find on the website. So whether you're using, the embedded version or the URL as we saw in the previous example, just make sure it's super easy to find. That way you'll get just more donations, basically. All right, so if you have any questions, obviously let me know about this second example. And if not, I'm going to switch to a next example. All right, so this one here. So as mentioned before, if you want to use Zephy for an event, it's totally possible as well. That's actually, the second most used tool in Zephy, the ticketing feature. So here, this one is a gala. So as you can see on the right side, they have all this description section to explain about their event. And on the left side, you can list as many ticket rates as you need. So there's just two options in that case, but if you want to have several options, maybe add a sponsorship package, for example, on top of that, you can really list as many items or rates as you want. So let's say I want to buy a ticket. I can just choose that one here, select how many tickets I want to buy. I can add a donation for the nonprofit on top of buying a ticket. So maybe I want to support them further with an extra $10. I would put that right here and click donate, and I'll be redirected to the exact same type of fields as what we saw before. So I can fill it out, proceed to supporting Zephy if I want to, and then check out. So it's exactly the same experience. The only difference here is that you'll be able to issue e-tickets. So it's going to be a one-pager, PDF ticket that people can download on their phone or print, and it will have this QR code and all the information about your attendee. You can scan the QR code at the gate if you want to control who gets in, for example, and keep track of all of these information in your Zephy account as well. And so again, this form is a ticketing form, but if you want to have the embedded version of it, it's possible as well. It will come with this piece of code that you can use for that. All right, so again, if you have any questions, let me know. You can raise hands or just, oh, yeah, Rolene.
I always have questions.
Go on.
You're talking about an event here. So if you had to add something else on, such as, I can't think right now, but say a food package or something like that, is that possible on here as well?
Yes, for sure. So you mean like selling items, basically?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. We have another feature for that, which is called the online shop. So you can list items. It's kind of the same structure. The difference is that you could add also a little picture on each item. And, basically people can buy t-shirts or food baskets or anything you want to
Okay.
see. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, great. I'm going to move on with a next example, which is actually the last one I prepared for today. But if you want to see more, let me know. I'll be happy to share other examples. This one here is a peer-to-peer campaigns, just loading, there we go. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with peer-to-peer fundraising, but in case, let me just do a quick reminder. Peer-to-peer campaigns are basically fundraising campaigns where your donors can raise funds for your nonprofit in their own network or their own group of friends, for example. What you see here is the main campaigns page that the nonprofit created. On the left side here, they explained about the campaign and why they are basically collecting funds. So you can explain really in details the reason behind the project. On the right side here, you have this progress bar that shows how much you raised compared to the goal that you set. And if I'm a donor and I land on this page, I have different buttons I can click. Obviously, I can donate to the general campaign right away, or to a team or a person who's raising funds for that campaign. I can also raise funds myself. So if I hit fundraise, I can create a fundraising team, an individual fundraising page, or I could join a team that exists already. Speaking of teams, if I scroll down to the bottom of the form, this is the leaderboard. So that's actually the list of all the teams and all the individuals who are collecting funds for this campaign. Let's go and click on this team. So by doing so, I will land on that team's page. So they have the same design, layout, and colors, but if they wanted to, they could change it all to their own. That's definitely possible. And here they have their own goal to reach. I could donate to that team, or I could join that team as a member. And all the members, here again, are listed at the bottom. I could go, for example, on Marta's page, and I could donate directly to Marta. She has her own goal to reach, and she could change the whole design if she wanted to. So this type of campaign basically has 3 levels, the main campaigns page, the teams page, and the individuals page. It's a very nice way to get in touch with, to get in touch with more donors than with a regular campaign, because here the cool thing is that your most loyal supporters will basically raise funds for your nonprofit and share that with their friends, their families. So you might reach out to people who never heard of your nonprofit before, and who want to support you guys because they also want to support their friends who's supporting you. So it's just a win-win situation. I definitely recommend to use that tool, specifically if you have like events like walkathons or races, for example, where people create their teams and people want to support them in this sport event, for example. That's one case, but obviously you can use it many other ways. All right, so that's the last example I had in mind for today. Before we go in the creation process of a form in the backend, if anyone has questions, let me know. Don't be afraid of asking several questions if you have many questions. All right, no questions, no problem. Great, so I'm gonna go in the backend of Zephy. So what you see here is a Zephy account. That's my demo account. So that's what you will see as a nonprofit when, playing around in the platform, creating campaigns and all of that. So I'm gonna cover the different tabs. I'm just gonna give you a little preview here. That's not live yet, this section, but it's something that's coming up in the next few weeks. It's the home page. So it's going to be this dashboard that shows you how you're doing in terms of fundraising. So you'll have like how much you raised, the new supporters you got, all the payments you received. It's basically a dashboard overview. So it's not, again, live yet, but in a few weeks, it should be ready. So we very often add new features like these ones to always improve the platform, basically. So I'm going to start with the Forms tab here. And as you might guess, this is the page where you can see all the forms, all the pages that you created on Zephy. For example, here I can see my raffle forms, peer-to-peer campaigns, donation forms, membership forms. If I had events, it will also appear there. So all the initiatives you have with Zephy will show on that page. For each of these forms, you can see, again, the type of form it is, how much you raised, and the detail of the sales that went or the transactions that went through each of your forms. We'll get to create a form together at the end, so you can see how that works. But basically, this one is an overall picture of all your forms. Now, if I move on to payments, this section here is a page where I can see all the transactions that I received through Zephy. So that's my complete data over here, from all my campaigns, all my events, all my donation forms. But if you want to filter that easily, you can just go here in the filters and filter your data by form. So for example, I want to see all the transactions that were made to my summer raffle. I would apply the filter, and it will show me all the transactions that correspond to that filter. If you want to go a bit further and filter with dates, it's definitely possible as well. So you can really have a detailed filtering option here. If you need to export data, I think, Lily, you mentioned that with your current system, you can just export it here. and it's going to generate this Excel sheets with all this information in just one click. Unfortunately, we don't have a direct integration with other software, so you can export it and import it back if you want to. If you want to push data automatically to another software, that would be through Zapier as well, actually, Lily. So it's for those of you who don't know, Zapier is a tool that links platforms together to push data from Zephy to something else if you need to. But the cool thing here is that with just one click, you can export your data in Excel sheets, so you can access it on your device without any internet connection, for example. You can also import data. So I think maybe, Lily, that was another of your questions, how to import your historical data from another software to Zephy. So if you have another solution right now and you want to import all your contacts or all the history of your transactions, you can just click import. I won't go into the full process right now, but basically it's going to give you this Excel sheets template that you can fill out with all your data and just import it back in Zephy. So that way, when you get started, you have all your data already in the platform, and you can do your switch super easily. Yep, Lily, I think you have a question. I think you're muted, Lily.
So I can import, let's say I have a membership or whatever, but then someone gives me cash and it doesn't go through on that. I can then import that information to say so-and-so gave me cash, and then that would show up.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's I'm glad you asked this question, actually, because if someone donates or buys something offline, not through Zephy, and you want to keep track of that in the platform and also maybe issue a tax receipt for them, you can just go here, add a payment, and you can choose what form this payment corresponds to. So maybe that would be for a membership. And from here, you can fill out all the information about the offline donation that was made from that person, and you can keep them in your system. You can even generate a tax receipt if that's the case for them in just a few clicks. So you can really keep track of everything that goes both online and offline in Zephy. I'll get into the message button here a bit later, actually. It's basically a tool for you to email people from Zephy if you want to. Lily, did I answer your question well?
Yes, thanks.
Amazing. Thanks for the question. All right, great. So I'm going to move on to the contacts tab, which is also a very important part of Zephy. It's basically your donor management system that is built in Zephy. So as soon as someone makes a transaction through any of your forms, it's going to create this contacts profile for that person. And obviously, if they donate or make another purchase later on, it will add these informations in their profile. So I'm just going to go here on Jack, for example. So this is Jack's profile, right? So it's basically an individual picture of this donor. So here you could add some notes on this profile. So let's say you have a call with Jack, over the phone, and you want to keep track of what you guys chatted about. You could put that in the notes. You can also use the tag section. So a tag is basically a little label that you can assign to a contact to then filter them later on. If you want to reach out, for example, to a specific segment of your database. Here you have obviously the detailed contact information. You can see all the payments that person made, the receipts that were issued for them. And here, if they created any campaigns through a peer-to-peer campaign, for example, you would see that right there. Now, if you want to email someone or get in touch with Jack, for example, you could just click new message. And here you can basically build an email that is going to be sent to them. So you can change the subject line and build your email in here. All the emails you send and create in Zephy can be saved as templates if you want to reuse them in the future, obviously. And right there's a nice tool in the variable section, which is, well, obviously you have the first and last name that can be pre-filled, but you can also send a pre-filled form. So this one is super interesting. Basically here you can choose between, well, among all the forms you created on your Zephy account, so all the pages, all the events, for example, my summer raffle again here. So it's going to generate this link in the email. So when Jack receives the email, he can click the link. He'll be sent to the Zephy page, pre-filled with all his information already. So he doesn't have to fill out the form from scratch. He can just, hit donate or buy his tickets, for example. It's just a way for you to make it easier for Jack to support your nonprofit. So that was the individual view from a contact, right? I'm just going to go back here in my main contact section. Again, that's my complete list of contacts. There's many ways you can filter your list. So here, if I filter, I can filter that list in terms of, my contacts transactions, how much they donated total, the tags I assigned, the notes, all these filters that you see here. Let's say, for example, I want to see all my contacts who were monthly donors, but who canceled their monthly donation. I could use this filter here, and it will filter my list and show me all the contacts that match with this filter. From here, I could bulk select these people to export them in Excel sheets if I need to add a tag manually, or to write a bulk email. So here, it's just going to be a mass email. So if you want to send newsletters, for example, or let people know about an event coming up, or just target a specific group of donors, you could do it that way, and just send emails from here. All right, do we have any questions so far about the contact section? No? Oh, yeah, I think so. Maybe Anne, you have your hand raised.
Yes. Great presentation. Thank you. Now, we have a few members on our committee. Would they be able to go in online and see a summary of your presentation?
Oh, for sure. Well, it's gonna be recorded. So I think, Osamu, if we can send the recording, and you can obviously share that with your team. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
or I was actually going to ask if you would be willing to give a presentation.
Well, I can actually send you another recorded version. To be fully honest with you, we don't have the resources to do that much individual presentations. But if there's like a topic that you want me to dig, for example, I'll be happy to send you all the resources you need about it for sure.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Anne, for asking that.
Oh, and by the way, interesting, you mentioned it. If you have other people on your team and you want them to be able to access your Zephy account, you can add as many users as you want to your Zephy account, so they all have their own login information, basically. Here, if I go next to my name and I click invite a user, I can add as many users as I want, and I can choose the permissions I give each people, basically. So that way, if you want to hide the bank section, which we'll see in a few minutes, to someone, it's possible.
Oh, wow.
All right, thanks for the questions, everyone. I'm going to move on to the visitors tab right here, still in the contact section. This one is a section that basically shows you the interactions that people have with your forms. So what you want to see here is the status column. If you see that the payment is successful, that's all good. That means, it all went through and there's nothing you need to worry about. Now, if you go to not completed, you'll see all the interactions that didn't end up in a successful transaction. For example, if you see that the page was visited, that means that the person put at least their email, first and last name, and then they left the Zephy page for whatever reason. Incomplete form means that they tried to submit the form, but it didn't go through and they left. The most common example is someone who tries to donate and they use their credit card. They make a typo, obviously it doesn't work. They get frustrated and they leave the page. Doesn't happen much, but if it happens, what's nice here is that you can see it. So here, I know that Amanda, tried to submit the form and then she left. So I could message her and say, hey, Amanda, I saw you try to make a donation for the campaign. Is there anything you need help with? Basically customize the email you want. And you can also send her this link to the form pre-filled with her information, so she can just do a few adjustments and proceed to the donation or buying the ticket she wanted to purchase. So it's another nice way for you to get the most out of your potential, transactions, basically. And now if I go to the emails tab, I'll see all the emails I sent from Zephy to any of my contacts. If I click on one, I can see, the content of the email and the recipients with the stats. Thanks for the reactions, Osam.
No, this is great. Like you can keep track open rate.
Yeah, you can literally keep track of all of that. And obviously here I just have one person in my recipients, right? Because it was an individual email. But if you get like a newsletter, you'll see all the recipients right there. All right, that's it for the contacts. Does anyone have any question about the contacts section?
Not a question, but just a comment. I'm a developer too, and then just you guys develop a like amazing platform, and
Thank you.
I mean, like user should be, you guys should be paid. Just user should pay for this one. Like, just using that, the CRM and the platform, this is a fantastic management system. Yeah.
Thank you so
Just
much.
a compliment. Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And again, the whole point at Zephy is for it to be free, so that's why
Yeah.
it's completely free for nonprofits. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I'll pass along your good words to the team. So here I'm going to show you the bank section, which is obviously something very important. When you get a transaction in Zephy, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have Stripe in the back end of the platform. So again, Stripe is one of the market leaders in terms of online transactions. So when you buy something on Amazon, for example, it's Stripe that's in the back end. So here we have the same partner. You don't need to create a Stripe account and a Zephy account separately. It's all merged together on Zephy, so there's nothing you need to worry about. Usually, I think Lily mentioned it with another system, Stripe charges a 2.9% fee plus 30 cents on each transaction, but we cover the Stripe fees for you. So you basically benefit from Stripe's technology at no cost by using Zephy. So when you get a transaction, you'll be able to see that transaction in your Zephy account. So in the payouts tab here, you can see how much you have in Zephy. So right now I don't have any donations, but you will see your total balance. You can see how much is ready for your next payout. So the payout is basically the next money transfer that you will get from Zephy to your bank. And you can see how much is processing. This one here basically shows you the amounts that were paid by your donors, but that were not processed yet by their banking institution. So sometimes it can take a few business days, depending on their bank, depending on their payment method, but that's actually, money you'll get at some point. It's just that it's being processed. And once it's processed, it will adjust in this amount and you'll receive it in your next payout. Payouts are automated and you can choose to have them scheduled every month or every week. It's really up to you. And there's no fees at all associated with that either. So you'll get the full amount in your bank account. When you receive a payout, it's going to be a one lump sum in your bank. And if you want to see the detail of all the transactions and donations and ticket sales included in each payout, you'll be able to see that from this section. So here, let's say I want to see the detail of the payout I received on August 1st. I would click on it and I'll see basically the detail of all the transactions included in this payout. You can export that in Excel sheets if you want to.
Right.
So I don't know if we have any treasures, or maybe I'll in your treasure of your nonprofit. I don't know, but I know it's a section that treasurers usually like to spend time in. Aline, did you have a question, or I'm not sure? Maybe not. Okay, all good. All right, great. So that's the payout section. I'm just going to go to the transactions tab here. So this one shows you basically the list of transactions per month. So here, for example, if I want to see what I received in August 2023, I could see the history of all these transactions. The receipts, as you might guess, are the list of all the receipts you issued over time through Zephy. You can search for a name, you can search for a specific date. So if someone lost their receipts and they reach out, say, hey, can you just send me my tax receipt again? You can find that super easily here. You can also find this receipt on their contacts page, right? So if that's another way for you to find it if you want to. All right, so we still have a bit of time. I'm going to show you actually how to create a form in Zephy. So I'm going to go here in the forms section. We might have time to do both, but would you guys like to see more an event type of form or more a donation type of form? We should be able to do both, but I just want to start with the one that most people want to see.
Think a donation.
Yeah,
Donation.
donation.
Yes. Mhm.
Amazing. All right, we should be able to do both, but I'm going to start with the donations. All right, so here I would go under forms and then click new forms, and I can choose between all these options. So I didn't show you all the examples today, but just so you know, between the event, the raffle, the membership, and the online shop, the creation process is very similar. So once you know how to create one, all the other ones are going to be super easy. Same thing between the donation and the peer-to-peer. By the way, they're all easy. You can all create them, on your own, but it's in terms of the experience for you to create it, it's going to be very similar. So I'm going to go with the donation option and start creating the form. The first thing you want to do here is change its name, its title, to make it match with the name of your nonprofit or the name of your campaign if you have a specific campaign. You can choose the language you're typing the form in. So you have the choice, as we're in Canada, you have the choice between English and French. So let's say I'm going to create it in English. Once we get to the advanced settings, we'll be able to translate it in French. So we'll have two versions. I don't know if I have anyone from Quebec here, but that might be useful. Here, if you want to make your form actually a campaign, you would just need to check that box. And you can add a target that you want to reach in terms of how much you want to raise. So by doing this, basically, you'll have this thermometer appearing on your form. So that shows how much you raise compared to that goal. It's not mandatory, obviously. If your goal is more to have a form that people can donate to like spontaneously all year round for general donations, I think it's better not to make it a campaign, because campaigns are more adapted when you have a specific project in mind. But again, you're free to use it if you want to. Right here, you have the description section, so you can explain a bit more about your nonprofit, the reason why you're raising funds, what you're going to do with the money, for example. Then hit next. And you can create your form and customize the options that are going to be available on the page. So you can allow one-time donations, monthly donations, and here, if I click this little option, I also can enable the yearly recurring donation. Obviously, you can choose to disable some of them. You can really play around with that. You can suggest 4 different amounts for your donors for each type of donation, and they always have the option to type an amount of their choice also manually when they are on the form, so they don't always necessarily have to choose from your options. It's more, like ideas you can give them, basically. Here, you can customize the look of the page, so you can add your logo here. You can change the color of your form by playing around with the colors here or entering the exact color code if you know it. And you can add a banner. So the banner is going to be the image that appears on your form. So either in an image. So here you can upload your image. Or if you want to have a video, you can just put the URL, so the link of your YouTube video. If you want to have more questions on your form, you can just add questions here. By default, these are the questions that you're going to be asking to your donor. And right there, you can configure the thank you note that is going to be sent by email automatically to your donors after they made their transaction. And this is going to be also sent along with the tax receipt if you issue any tax receipts. Once this is done, that's it. Basically, you can create your form and you're ready to share it online. So the easiest way to do it is just to use that link, this URL. You can put it on a Facebook post, you can put it on your website, send it by email to donors as well. So it's super easy to use. Right here, you have a QR code. So you can print it. If you have flyers or posters, you can print that QR code. People can scan it with their phone and they can land on the page to make a donation. If you have an event, like an in-person event, I really encourage you to create a donation form as well and print the QR code of that donation form, put it at different steps of like places of the event, and people can just scan it if they feel like supporting your nonprofit a bit more during the event. It's a nice way to get more donations. So that's it for the QR code. Right here, you have the embed code, which is this little piece of code that you can use to have your form integrated on your page, as we saw here with the this example there. So it will let you have this type of form. And here you can embed your form as a pop-up. So it's kind of a different design, but basically it will be this little window popping up on your screen with your form in the window. So it's another option that you can use to share the form. Oh yeah, and here you can send actually your form pre-filled with all your contacts information to all your contacts if you want to. So you can compose a little email, which you can obviously edit, and send it to all your contacts if you want to. So that's it for the sharing section. If I go to the advanced settings, just so you see here, we have a few other options. You can activate the in honor of or in memory of donation option. So it's going to be a little checkbox on your form. So if people check the box, they're going to be able to notify someone about a donation that they made. So for example, if that's in honor of someone who passed away, they can notify their family, for example, that type of thing. You can suggest payments by check for bigger amounts, so over $8,000. So it's going to let people fill out the page, and it will just let them know where they should write and send the check to if they prefer to donate via check rather than online. Here is the email to notify every time a new donation is made. So you can put all your team's emails if you want to, or just no emails at all. And if you want to translate your form, you just have to click this button. It will pop the original version we created together, and you can just write the translated version in French right here. So that way people can switch from French to English, and you'll have also 2 links to share one for each language if you want to. So that's as simple as that. Honestly, in 5-10 minutes, you can be up and running with your donation form online. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'm just making sure no one. Oh, yep. I think Lily, you have your hand raised.
Okay, I have a question about the receipt form.
Sure.
We have monthly donors, and some of them say, I don't want a monthly, each time I donate, I don't want a
Right.
receipt. I want it only once a year. And then
Absolutely.
others say, no, I really want it once a month. So is there an option where you can decide to give
I
that?
see. Definitely a good question. So in the past, we used to issue a receipt for each monthly donation. We actually changed it to one consolidated receipt at the end of each year that they will receive. Unfortunately, we don't have the option to choose between one or another, I'm afraid.
No, we prefer once a year. Right?
Okay,
But
so
yeah.
by the way, we'll take care of sending that. It's at the beginning of each new year, basically, we send all the yearly receipts as well. But yeah, definitely a good question, because I know it was a big
Yeah,
request at the
there were a
time.
lot of complaints say, I don't want to have this every month.
That
and
makes
have to
total sense.
download and- Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question, Lee. All right. I don't see any other questions, but let me know if you have any. So we have 10.
Sorry, just one quick question.
Sure.
Do you have any like a trigger or action, like once a donor click the submit or donate and then takes to another URL? Because some people want to use separate the thank you page.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
We don't have this feature either, I'm afraid. But that's
Okay.
definitely, I'm just gonna write that down. Yeah, to
Okay.
share as feedback for my team, because that's definitely a good idea. Yeah, at the moment, Osamu, we don't really have, like any API or that thing that allows us to do that much like custom stuff, but it's definitely a good idea for the future.
Oh, okay, thanks.
All right, for sure. So would you guys like to see the example of an event this time, or would you prefer to keep the 10 minutes for something else? Yeah, I think everyone pretty much said yes. Okay, good. Perfect. So that'll be quick, you'll see. I'm just gonna go back here under forms, click new form, and this time I'll choose the event option so I can start the creation. And here it's kind of the same first step. So I can change the name of my event to make it match, well, with the name of the event. I can change the language, specify the description to tell a bit more about the event itself. You can add the location with the address. And here you can specify the date and time of your event. So if I add a date, I can choose, well, I can specify the start and end date of the event. Here, I can set a close date for the sales. So here, if I want to make sure that it's not possible to buy tickets after a specific date, I'll be able to set that up right here. Most events happens, just once in the year, like maybe your annual golf tournament, for example. But if you have a recurring event, you can just specify that here. And you have the option to have an event that occurs just once, every day of the week, every day, weekly, or monthly, between those two dates that you set up. So that way, if you have this, maybe your recurring workshop or something like that, you can use that feature. People can choose the date that they want to join the event at when they land on the page, and then they can buy their ticket. So it's a way for you to manage multi-date events as well. So once you're done with the date, you can hit next, and you'll be able to create your different ticketing options. First thing you want to do here, depending on your event, is to limit the total number of tickets available. So maybe you have a venue that is limited to 400 people. You want to make sure you don't sell more than 400 tickets. Here you can create your first type of ticket. So you can change the name of this ticket. Right now it's general admission, but you can name it as you want. You can specify the price. So maybe it's $80. Add a description to explain what is included with that type of ticket. And here in the options, you can actually go a bit further. For example, if you want to limit the number of tickets available at this rate, you can do that right here. And you can set a minimum and maximum number of tickets that people can buy in the same transaction. So here, for example, it wouldn't be possible to buy more than 10 general admission tickets in the same transaction. You can obviously change that if you want to. If you want to issue a tax receipt for your ticket sales, it's definitely possible here. You just need to check that box and specify how much is tax deductible. So here my ticket is $80. Maybe there's just 40 that is considered a donation because the rest is considered service, for example. So you can issue that tax receipt of this amount. You can make your ticket a group ticket. So if you have maybe a gala and you're selling tables of 8 people, you can actually specify that this ticket is worth 8 tickets. So when someone buys a table of 8, it will send them 8 tickets. And it will account also for 8 tickets in this limit that you set up here. And the last option is to make your ticket. So you can choose a date until which this ticketing option is available. It's a nice practice to use specifically if you want to encourage people to buy their tickets earlier, in the process. You would have your regular rate and also your early bird rate that's going to be available until a specific date that you can, choose. So that's it for the options of each ticket, well, of this ticket type. Now, if you want to create other ticketing options, like maybe, the group of 4 or the VIP admission, whatever type of ticket you want to sell, you can just add a ticket here and do the same thing for each of your tickets. An option I always recommend to activate is this little checkbox here. So it will let people make a donation on top of buying a ticket for your nonprofit. So always a nice way to, make extra money for the nonprofit. And here you can add some questions. So as we saw in the previous example, by default, you're going to be asking for all these questions. And you can add more questions if you want to. So there's 2 categories of questions for events: questions for the buyers or questions per tickets. Questions for the buyer are going to be basically questions that are asked for the whole transactions, for the whole transaction, sorry, just once, regardless of how many tickets or what types of tickets are selected by the buyer. Questions per ticket are questions that are going to be asked once per ticket or for specific types of tickets. So let me just show you how that works. Here, if I add a question, I can choose what type of question I'll ask, either a short question where the person is going to have to type an answer. I could ask for a phone number, an email, a date, a multiple choice question, or a checkbox. All these questions can be made required if you want to make sure they answer it before they move on to the transaction. And here in the options, you can choose to have this question appearing only for specific types of tickets. So here, we just created one type of ticket, right? But let's say you have your general admission and your VIP admission. You want to ask a question only for people who buy the general admission ticket. You can just check that box and choose between all your ticketing options so that this question will pop only for people who buy this type of ticket. So if you want to collect more data, about your donors, it's possible. If you, for example, have an event and you want to let people choose between different types of meals, for example, that's a nice way to use the question. I recommend to lower the number of questions you have. The less questions, the better, usually, because you want to keep it super simple and short for people to fill out the form. So I'm just going to cancel that question. But if that's something you need to use, it's here. So feel free to use it. So once we're done here, we can hit next, and we can customize the form exactly with the same options as what we saw with the donations: logo, colors, banners, and thank you email that is going to be sent automatically after the transaction is made. And this email is also going to be included the e-ticket if you issue any e-tickets. So it's going to be checked by default, but you can disable it if you don't want to. Again, the ticket is going to be, well, let me just show you an example here. It's going to look pretty much like this. There we go. You can add, obviously a banner here if you want to give it more design, but that's the type of format it will have. So people can have it on their phone. They can print it also if they want to, and you guys can scan that QR code when they show up at the gate. All you need to do to scan it is just use your phone, exactly the same way you would scan a QR code at the bar or the restaurant. So you can just scan the code on the page with your camera app to register people in. I think, Roland, you might have a question. And you're muted, I think.
Sorry, my dog was barking. Sorry.
That's all good.
I'll just, sorry.
No, you're
Okay,
fine.
my question is, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Is there an option? Is there, oh dear, is there an option to send a reminder for an event?
I love your questions. Absolutely.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah, I'm gonna show that to you here in the advanced settings. So
Oh, okay, sorry.
absolutely. No, that's all good. That's a great
Yeah,
question.
that's a good question.
So here I'm gonna go and create my form. We already covered the sharing options, before with the donation. So you have the same sharing options here, like URL, QR code, embed, all of that. And if we go to the advanced settings, by default, there's going to be a reminder email that is going to be sent a week before the event, but you can obviously edit the content of your email and choose how many days before the event is going to be sent to your attendees. Here, you can also have more little features like adding a sales target. So it's going to show this thermometer with how much you raise compared to your goal. You can suggest payments by check for bigger amounts, and you can add discount codes. So here, I can customize my code, choose its value, either in dollar amount or percentage, and specify how many times each code can be used. So that way, when people land on the page, if they have this code, they can enter it and they can benefit from this discount that you offer them. All right, so I think it's exactly 1 hour. I'm obviously available if you guys have more questions. Also, I don't want to take too much of your time. I don't know how that looks on your end.
No, that's okay. Yeah, let's feel free to ask question. I
Amazing.
can stick around another 10 minutes if you
Sure.
want to. So yeah, feel free to ask a Hubert question. I'm pretty impressed.
Thank you, Osamu. Does anyone have it? Yep, Lily, you have a question?
This is a very unique question for our organization.
Go on.
So we do want to transfer and get away from Raisley and transfer to Cefi. But how hard is it for our donors or monthly donors, for them? Do they have to like stop payment and then we have to give them a new form, and then because every time you
Right.
do that, you can lose them, right? So
That's a very good question to ask, and that's correct. So it wouldn't be legal to switch them, to Zephy without them knowing. So you have, to let them know. What I usually suggest, and again, it really depends on each case. So if you feel like reaching out to your donors and ask them to switch might, just remind them that they were donating to your nonprofit and that some of them are just, thinking, oh, okay, so I'm just going to cancel donating and that's it.
right.
I mean, that could happen. And again, I think it really depends on each nonprofit's case. If you feel like that's a risk for you, what I would recommend is, just start to use Zephy. Put your donation form on your website with Zephy so that all new recurring donors start using Zephy, and maybe keep the rest of them, the existing ones, on Raisley. I think it's the one you have. You could also reach out to them and just say, hey, if you want to, if you'd consider having a bigger impact, you can use Zephy for your recurring donations, because 100% of the money is going to go to the nonprofit. That's a
Right.
nice approach to have, and usually, it works well. But I don't want to, force you into something that might make you lose donors. So I think that's the challenge that could happen here. So I would recommend the safest thing is to keep your current monthly donors on your platform and encourage all the new ones to use Zephy. I know many nonprofits that made a switch that went really, really well, and like 99% of donors actually made the switch. I didn't hear about others that for who it went bad, but it can happen. I mean, that's a risk
Okay, thanks.
for sure. Yep, Berlin.
I think this is very interesting for us because we're just starting, and it's even very interesting possibly for our event. But however, as Anne said, there are a number of people on our team who are more the tech people than we are. Although I was, I can do some things, and I was impressed because it looks very simple to use, even for me. So, so when we get our recordings, we can show them to the other people involved, and then if we're
Absolutely.
interested, how do we get started with it, or who do
Yes.
we contact?
You're definitely asking all the best questions, Rolene. I love that. So
Well,
I'm
it's
just
the
gonna-
first exciting thing I've seen for a while that might work for us. We'll see.
Amazing, amazing. I'm just sending in the chat, I'm just sending a little link. It's Zephy's website. So if you click that link, you'll see on our website, I'm just going to share it right now here. There's the sign up button. So by doing so, you'll be able to create your account on Zephy. It's obviously completely free. Maybe in the follow-up email we'll send with Osamu, I can definitely also add that link if that makes sense.
Yes, please.
Amazing. And I'll be super happy also to send a bunch of other videos. So today we had, like a general presentation of Zephy, but I also have videos of each specific feature and how to use each of them in the details. So I'll be happy to share that if that's something that can help, really.
Hey, that would have been my next question, Hubert. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, if you probably like send me all the links. They are online resources, right? And
Yep.
then send it to me today or tomorrow. Then I'll send everyone
Amazing.
yeah, I kind of create a playbook and then send
For sure.
everyone all the resources. Yeah.
Amazing. And I didn't mention it at all, but I just wanted to tell you a few words about our team also at Zephy, and specifically our support and success team. So when you create an account on Zephy, you'll have someone from my team reaching out. They'll be your account manager, basically. So if you need any help, if you want to chat with them, they're here to help. There's no fees associated with support. They have great ratings. So they were best support team of 2023 on Capterra. I don't know if that rings a bell. It's a software rating company. So they're really here to help you grow with Zephy. Obviously, if you need any help, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to them. And I was mentioning at the beginning, that every year there's $3 billion that is lost because of fees in the nonprofit sector in North America. So it's a huge, thing to solve. So far, we managed to help nonprofits save 15 million. So it's not 3 billions yet, but we're getting closer every day. So if you want to also help her in this mission, that'd be amazing. I don't know if there's any other questions. Yep, Anne.
Now, how long has Zephy been around?
Sure. Zephy's been around for 7 years. At the very beginning, we were a platform, a volunteering platform, so to connect volunteers and nonprofits. And we made a switch like 5 years ago to online fundraising instead, because we found out that it was where the biggest need was. Yeah.
And did you have someone that backed you? Obviously, it takes a lot of talent and brains to do something like this.
Thank you so much.
And
I'm
you
not-
needed to pay the bills, so it was someone backing you for
For
this.
sure. Yeah, we had investors. So from a fund called Ring Capital, it's investors who only invest in social impact businesses,
Oh,
such
great.
as Zephy. So that's where the original funding came from. And now we're obviously autonomous. So Zephy is profitable, obviously. So we can fund
Great.
the whole company.
Great.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Any other questions? No.
Thank you, Osamu, for
Yeah, thank you so much, Osamu.
Yes.
Oh no,
Thank
thank you for coming. Thank you for me. It's my pleasure to organize this. Yeah, bring people in and then bring expertise. Yeah, in the industry. Yeah, I look forward to it. And if you know anybody who can guest speaker, just let me know. And if you want to learn any other topics, let me know. I can look for any other expertise too. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. That was really a pleasure to meet you. And
All right. So everyone have a nice day and have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend.
Hey.
Okay.
bye-bye,
See you
everyone.
later. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Hubert.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.